We're here with some reasons why you should not move to Austin, Texas. Now, there's lots of videos out there talking about why not to come here. My team went through and watched 15 of them, and we compiled which were the most popular reasons on why not to move here. And we're all about adding value for our clients, and so we want to save you some time. So instead of having to watch all these other videos, we did it for you, and here they are, the top 10 reasons ranked amongst all the other YouTube videos of why not to move to Austin. So number 10 is we don't have any pro sports team. Now, we recently have an MLS, Major League Soccer team, and the games are really fun. I have gone. The energy is really cool at soccer. I do really like it, but there's no football, no basketball, no baseball. We don't even have hockey.
To be the devil's advocate, most of the folks moving here are more into an active lifestyle than a sedentary lifestyle. So when it comes to sports, more about participating than watching.
And there is lots of that.
Plenty of that, and we'll talk about that on the reasons to move here.
Yeah, and to play devil's advocate to your devil's advocate, people that like participating in sports often like watching it too. Sure. And there is something to go and watch live sport. Yeah. So people will go to San Antonio, it's 90 minutes, you can get the Spurs, Dallas to watch football, even Houston. So luckily we're in this triangle and there is lots of pro sports nearby. It is nice to have a home pro sports team. So, hopefully coming soon to the Austin area will be some other major league sports.
Number 9, David, property taxes are too darn high.
Roughly in Austin, 2.2% is what we see a lot. There are some areas like Westlake that are at like 1.7, 1.8% with a little bit of a lower tax rate. But you compare that to some other states, and that is a bit on the high side.
Right.
Of course, the reason people come here when it comes to taxes is that there's no income tax.
Yes.
And for many people that are high income especially, that benefit, if they're coming from California and New York, 13% state income tax, that's really outweighing the property taxes that they're paying.
Right. The net tax liability.
Yeah. The other benefit of high property taxes I've always brought is that it creates a more stable value for property values in Texas because it's a lot harder to speculate because you do have this big expense no matter what that you have to pay every year. Whether or not you have a loan, you still got to pay that. So it creates an environment where you have to have some sort of income on the property because you don't want to just buy a piece of land and just sit on this empty piece of land paying property taxes at a high rate every year.
Yeah. And not to mention property taxes support the infrastructure, schools, roads, and so forth, and that's a big deal.
Number 8, there's a lot of bugs.
I've lived in Florida, David.
We're posting it because this is what other people are saying.
These are just tallied numbers from what's out there.
So literally, like, number 1 was mentioned in 6 different videos as a reason not to move here.
Right.
I personally have not had this experience with bugs. I've had other people mention, I guess it depends where you're moving from. That's always relative. So maybe you're moving somewhere that has no bugs. But we've got a bat population equivalent to our human population. About 1 million bats live in the Congress Street Bridge. And bats eat bugs. So I tend to think that helps keep the bug population down. Yeah, I've gotten bitten by some things. May's a cool bug month. You know why? We got lightning bugs. Just in the month of May.
Wow.
There's lightning bugs, and that's kind of cool. Bugs, reason not to move here. I'll let you guys decide if that's a reason to keep you from moving.
Number 7 is allergies.
This one I think is real. There are some people that are really bugged, no pun intended, by the allergies.
It's nothing to sneeze at.
It hits me about twice a year when the season changes and the weather changes. I get usually a little bit of a sore throat or something, and I usually just push through it. Sometimes I'll take some allergy meds, but there are people that year-round they're taking allergy meds or they're going and getting shots because we do have the cedar fever, and that can really bug people. So I think that's just dependent, and I have friends, they love it here so much, they just fight through the allergies. So if this is something that potentially bugs you, look up what the main allergens are and time of year in Austin. Cedar fever is one that's talked about, but there are a couple others, so you might want to look into that. Number 6, public transportation is lacking and you need a car to get around. There's definitely truth in this. I'm probably one of the rare people that's taken the bus regularly.
You do.
And it rides right down my street, right downtown. So it's the most convenient way for me to go downtown, which I do almost every day. And so oftentimes, I'd say about a third of the time I'm taking the bus, a third of the time I'm walking, a third of the time I'm driving. But parking can be a pain downtown. So it is easier to do the other two. And I try to do that whenever possible. Just in general, you need a car. And I'd say you can live downtown, or now you can live in the Domain, or probably the 2 areas that are dense urban areas in Austin. where you can live and you don't need a car. Most of my friends that live downtown, they still have a car. It's free. Parking in Austin is pretty simple. Like, spaces aren't super expensive. It's not like Sydney, Australia I just visited, where it is really hard to find a parking spot downtown, and if you do, it's quite expensive. You can get away without a car. What I was about to say is my friends downtown will put like 3,000 miles a year on their car, so they don't use it all that much compared to the average American. So you can do it without a car.
Number 5, it's a liberal city in a conservative state, an island of blue in a sea of red. Just depends on your orientation politically on what that means to you.
I think it's a really good fit for people that are moderate because you have this push-pull between the city and the state government.
Yeah.
A good example was our camping ban, where the city was like, we're going to let homeless people camp wherever they want. And then the state said, you know what? That's not a good look for the city of Austin. The governor's here in Austin. It's the state capital.
Yeah.
And so you had this fight between the mayor and the governor.
Yeah.
And eventually the governor won out. We got it pushed to a public vote. And the majority of people in Austin said, yeah, we don't want people just to be able to camp anywhere they can. And that was how the vote went.
Right.
You kind of have a push-pull, which can be a pro. I know this is a not list, and I keep turning everything into a pro.
Well.
I think, what should probably shine through in this is that I love Austin. And even before I was a real estate agent, people would be like, do you get some sort of commission for me moving here? Because you are really a proponent for this city. Mm-hmm. And I do just really love it here. So.
Yeah. And I think on this note, it is human nature to want everything to be just exactly perfect, just the way you want it, just the way you would have it. However, give and take dynamic often yields the best results, a competitive marketplace, for example. But I do think that the liberal city offers some lifestyle opportunities, a lot of, diversity, and the conservative state really provides an economic environment that allows us to thrive. And by the way, that's the name of our YouTube channel, Living and Thriving in Austin. So I think that's liberal and conservative all in one. How about that?
It's interesting, being from Connecticut, I lived in New York City, obviously very liberal areas. But prior to moving here, if you'd asked me 1 year before I moved to Austin, would I ever move to Texas? I'd be like, what? Texas? It was so far off my radar. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot of people that live outside of Texas that feel very strongly. It's a polarizing state. Mm-hmm. And they feel very strongly one way or the other. I would never move there, or, man, that place sounds so cool. I would love to move there.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, Austin is this kind of really cool middle ground.
It's a hybrid.
Where you get to feel like you're in a New York style vibe with a little bit more moderate. So, if you want a place where everybody only talks about one way or the other, then this is not a good fit for you.
Right.
The cool thing is for people that like something a little bit more moderate, where it's okay to voice their opinion and not instantly get canceled or pushed out by a group because that doesn't fit the narrative of our city. Mm-hmm. Because there's both sides here.
Yeah.
Reason number 4, it is expensive. The home prices are too high. And the truth to that is we are the most expensive real estate market in Texas. Mm-hmm. Now, we are not expensive when you compare us to California, New York City, some other places around the world, and even in the US. We are getting up there in terms of pricing, and people are often shocked. I was talking to a realtor in Los Angeles, known for its high-priced real estate. I mentioned that Austin has downtown condos now over $2,000 a square foot, and she was shocked. Mm-hmm. She didn't realize that pricing in Austin had gotten that high. Mm-hmm. The thing that's unique about Austin is the scale at which pricing changes. So whereas in a New York or an LA, you go 30 minutes outside of like the main core, it's still quite expensive.
Yeah.
You go 30 minutes in Austin, can go for $2,000 a square foot downtown. You could get down to $250 a square foot.
Right.
So it's pretty phenomenal that you can be a 30-minute drive from downtown and be in something that's a lot more reasonably priced. Now, that's still probably expensive for some parts of the country. That's something where you got to reach out to a local real estate team and talk about what you're looking for and if you can find what you're looking for here and see if pricing's a fit. But
yeah, and one of the key things here is where are they coming from and what wage income level are they at? And what we're finding is that a lot of the inbound migration to Austin is coming from places with higher prices and high wage earning potential. Now, reason number 3 is traffic. Really legitimate, particularly if you do need to be driving, if you're in a suburb of the downtown area. Traffic is an issue.
Yeah, and the traffic here is a little bit odd because we're a festival city. So sometimes there's random things you don't even think about that are going on in the middle of the day. And so sometimes you'll just hit random traffic at 2 o'clock on a Wednesday. And you're like, well, what the heck is going on? It also could be construction related because it is a growing city.
Yeah.
And that's an issue. I will say a perspective from somebody that moved from the New York metro area that spent a bunch of time in Los Angeles. If you're moving from one of those two cities, there's no traffic in comparison because this is just not as big of a city as those two where the normal commute's an hour and with traffic it takes 2. That's really not what's going on here. It's like your normal commute is 20 or 30 minutes. With traffic it takes 40 or 50 minutes. So it's all relative again, depends on where you're moving from.
Right. Spoiler alert, this reason and the next reason are really polarizing items. We're doing another video which is the inverse of this, which is the top 10 reasons to move to Austin. In that video, one of the reasons people want to move here is Austin folks are nice people here, but not for people who don't want to move here. Number 2 is unwelcoming native Austinites. Have you run into that? I haven't really run into that.
I mean, I've been here, I think I'm kind of considered an Austinite at this point. Been here 11 years.
Not by the native Austinites.
Maybe not. Yeah, I guess it depends on who's looking at it.
Correct.
They've always been friendly to me.
Me too.
So I haven't had that experience. But, you know, what makes me think that experience is potentially out there is when you ask somebody, where are you from? And they're like, yes. And it's like, are you from California? They're like, yeah. They sheepishly say it. Yeah. They feel ashamed. And I imagine that's because somebody's giving them crap for it. But I don't know who. Everybody's so friendly here.
One of the things about our reporting ethos is we don't just tell you what we think, we tell you what's out there, and this is what people are saying.
The number one reason why not to move to Austin, Texas.
Can you believe this?
Extreme weather, floods, hail, and heat. There's truth to heat. It is 100 degrees outside. It's a shocker. I got off the plane yesterday coming back from a trip abroad where it was cool in most of the places I was, and I got hit with that heat wave, a good reminder of what that heat's like in the summer in Texas. Yeah. And it's something, you know, I'm used to it. I don't mind it because I'm in the air conditioning a lot of the time. When I'm outside, it's quick. I drive places, so I'm in a car, air-conditioned bus, and I'm in the water, whether it's Town Lake or Lake Austin or just a pool. Yeah. There's a lot of water, so you can manage it. But I think the best way to manage, especially with our clients who are mostly entrepreneurs or have flexibility with remote work, is that they just go away for a month in the summer. Yeah. This is the best time of year, is August, is to get away. And a lot of people do that. So you're not really missing out on much, which I think is a big concern. The time to be in Austin, spring and fall, man, the weather's perfect. Yeah. Now, it's tough if you're coming from Los Angeles. The Southern California weather, man, I just was there, 75 in the summer. During the day, it drops down to a cool 65 at night. Now, that's the best weather in the world. If you come from Southern California, you may not realize that you are coming from the best weather in the world, and it's really nice because of that.
I will challenge that claim, by the way.
Okay.
Having lived in Prescott, Arizona, I do believe that is the best 4-season weather on the planet. And
well, when you say 4 seasons,
you've got winter, got a little dusting of snow. In the summer, obviously, it's a bedroom community for Phoenix. When it's 118 in Phoenix, it's going to be 97 in Prescott, but you've got that pine-scented air. I mean, it's beautiful.
You're making it sound nice.
Prescott, Arizona is killer.
So people that are watching this, you now have a couple places to evaluate as potential places to move. I was doing it based on most consistent weather. Right. I would like 75 during the day, 65 at night. That seems like a perfect year-round temperature. And you know what? I want really hot or really cold. I will travel to those places.
It's nice to have seasonality at home. And if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in Prescott, let me know because I have some contacts there and we can hook you up.
And then the other part of the extreme weather is floods, hail, heat. Hail, I hear about that. There's been one time I was like, that's supposed to be hail. I'm not going to drive and risk getting my car hit with some hail. Most of the part I haven't heard much about hail being that big of an issue. You get free roofs out of it.
Covered parking is the key.
Yeah, we get some flash flooding if it really rains heavy. I'd say there's a big difference between flooding in Houston than from Austin.
Yeah, right.
Because Houston is flat. Austin is hill country. So it's a little bit easier to manage the flood and direct it down into creeks and such. We're in development, and so we go through this process with the city. They are on top of it when it comes to flood control. It hasn't been a huge issue. Now, if somebody was in a flood zone and was affected, I know there was a whole section of Lamar a couple years back that was affected. I was in Whole Foods one year, and they evacuated the Whole Foods downtown because, by the way, it was sunny out at this point. The rain had been so strong for the previous 48 hours, and it took a little bit of time for it to work its way down the watershed that 6th and 7th Street had been covered with water, and the fire trucks were out there and cars were stopped, and we walked out of Whole Foods on this sunny day to see the street flooded, and it was quite a sight to see. But for the most part, on your day-to-day, most of the time, these things are really not an issue except for heat, July, August, into September. October, November, December are amazing months to be here. January and February can sometimes be a little cold. When people ask me about the winter in Austin, I say winter's about 6 weeks long, spread out over 3 months. And so you'll have a week of 70s degrees. It's perfect. All of a sudden, next week, it's 40 degrees. You're like, whoa, where did that come from? And then you just wait a week, and it's back to 70.
Yeah.
And so it kind of oscillates between those two for about 3 months between, late December till, early March.
The weather and the prior reason about people being welcoming or nice. Again, one of the top reasons why people move to Austin is nice weather. And we'll see that on the other video. So in these days of fake news and information overload and polarized political opinions where people feel strongly about what's right, we're looking at reasons why people do this, don't do that, and there's people on both sides of the equation, whether it's the weather, whether it's how nice locals are, all these other things. The key is what's your perspective if you're looking to move to Austin. So we thought we'd provide this list based on what's out there.
Yeah, and in the next video, we talk about the top 10 reasons to move to Austin. I think we'll talk a little bit more about the vibe of a city.
Right.
I think the cool thing about living in a country like the United States is there's so many cities, there's a lot of options, and really finding a city that feels like it's a good match for you. So maybe there's a reason on this list that you're like, man, I don't never want to be sweating. So I'm out.
Leave a comment
on Austin.
Leave a comment and let us know why you would never move to Austin, or even better, why you thought you would never move to Austin and did, and then realize what a smart move it was. That would be a great comment.
Or maybe you moved to Austin thinking it was a great place to live and realized it's not a great place to live.
You can leave that comment.
You can leave that comment too.
Yeah.
We're curious to hear it all. Maybe we missed a reason, so please write that one down. We were just going over the top 10 in all the other videos to save you some time so you didn't have to watch the other ones. So hopefully it did. If you are thinking about moving to Austin, please go ahead and reach out to us. You can schedule a consultation right there in the banner through our Calendly link, and one of us will hop on the phone with you and talk about what your goals are and see if it's a good fit for us to work together. If you got a lot of this video, go ahead and subscribe, share it with a friend, like it so it can help other people find the video, and we look forward to not seeing you in Austin.
No. We want to see you here, but only if it's right for you.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you for watching.